Hello, everyone. We are back. It's Monday night. Kathy and I have a special guest. We brought Walter. Walter's here.
Hello,
Ryan
hello,
Rosary,
hello.
hello. How are
And,
you?
and he's all healthy tonight. That doesn't. We haven't seen any signs of anything
No signs of sickness.
happening. Yeah, he's fine tonight.
So the
Hello,
medicine worked.
thank you.
The medicine and the coat worked.
That's right, it did.
So Ryan, listen, they always ask for the character of Walter. All the viewers and fans are like, "Oh, Walter should be back." So, just as you as a real human, we're excited to know what you've been up to since you were Walter. So, if you could just share some of your things that have been happening up to now.
Of course, of course. Thank you for asking that, Roxanne.
Yeah.
Well, I last year I filmed a show which is on Paramount Plus called The Mayor of Kingstown,
Mm.
which starred Jeremy Renner. For those that don't know Jeremy Renner, they're more familiar with him from the Avengers movies. He plays Hawkeye, and that was such a wonderful, phenomenal time just being on that set. It was really large production, so there was a lot of money that they put into it. So it was a lot of fun to be on that, and just being around those actors and working with them, it was such a wonderful time. And I also shot a movie during the pandemic with some very close friends of mine called Bite of a Mango, which actually takes place in the city of Toronto, where I'm from, which is in Canada. And the movie essentially, we were all in the midst of the pandemic, all of us on planet Earth.
Yeah.
And so we ended up shooting this movie that took place in the pandemic. And my character gets one of his closest friends pregnant. And so they have to deal with this child while dealing with everything that happened in the pandemic. And we had our world premiere for that movie in Miami this past June.
Oh.
And we finally had our Toronto premiere about 2 weeks ago. And we had a standing ovation and a sold out theater.
Oh, and it's called A Bite of the Mango? What is
Bite of
it?
a mango. Bite of a
Bite
mango.
of a Mango.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
And
Now, why was it in Florida?
well, we submitted the movie to a bunch of film festivals, and the American Black Film Festival, which takes place in Miami roughly every
Okay.
June, they
Yes.
actually accepted us. So that was my first time going to Miami, Florida. And it was such a wonderful, fun time to be with the cast and the crew there. Yeah. So we had that opportunity to have our world premiere in Miami.
That's nice. They're
Yeah.
they're already saying congratulations to you. That's interesting. Like, you've been a busy guy.
I've
Walter's
been
been
trying.
busy.
Walter has been very, very busy.
I was fascinated that when I looked for your name just to see some of the stuff you've done, what am I familiar with? And there was something I found called How to Get Away with Recess. And apparently you were the actor, director, writer. No, was it right? Actor, director, producer, and editor.
And writer.
You were like, oh, you did?
I did write it.
Oh,
Yep.
and
Wow.
it looks incredible from 2019. So is that streaming anywhere that we could?
Yeah, I actually have it on my YouTube channel, House of Rye. I think it's all one word if I'm not mistaken. But if you search "How to Get Away with Recess," it should pop up. It was a fun little project because I grew up watching Disney's Recess on TV as a kid, and I love the show "How to Get Away with Murder," which was on, I believe, ABC, NBC.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and I just was one day was with a friend of mine, and we were sitting down. And I was just thinking, like, wouldn't it be cool to have a grittier, more grown up yet funny version of like Recess? And at the time, I had just finished doing a show called Riverdale, and Riverdale was very,
Gosh.
very hot. Everyone was always talking about Riverdale, so I was like, oh, like with the aesthetic of Riverdale. And so that's kind of how I conceptualized that idea. And me and my friend worked on it together, and I kind of took the reins with the writing, and thus it came to be. And I ended up posting all the episodes on my YouTube channel.
Brian, can you go back? I don't want to forget this. I was going to put it in the chat. What is your YouTube channel?
House of Rye. It's HOUSEOFRY.
All right, I put it on there. House of Rye. And someone I saw had a question about you being on Riverdale. I think they were asking about what part it was, what your experience was on Riverdale, if you want to talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, for sure. I was in the second season of Riverdale. my character's name at the time was just Horse Track Suitor. So in the scene, it was me, four other gentlemen that came from very well-off families, and one of the characters, Veronica. And so she's kind of sitting down and going through a vetting process with us to figure out which one she wants to get into business with. And so I basically come to her and I say, if you and I get into business, I'm going to name a horse after her. And she's like, no, I don't want a horse named after me. I want ships named after me. So unfortunately, she didn't choose me.
Wait a minute. I remember that because I am a Riverdale fan, especially in the earlier seasons.
Yeah.
So now I'm just gonna have to. I'm surprised I didn't connect. So I'm gonna have to go back and watch that. So you can remember your lines.
I do remember. The reason why I remember my lines so well is because before I had actually moved to Vancouver, I remember manifesting that I really wanted to be on Riverdale and I wanted to have a scene with Veronica. And by the grace of God, that actually happened. So
That's cool.
that was a very special moment for me.
Oh, that's cute. I like that. Do you have pictures? Did you take some behind the scenes photos?
I got a lot of behind the scenes photos.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Janice was asking if you got to work with either Martin or Chris on Riverdale. And I'm not sure if that's related to the actors or the characters.
So Martin, who is Martin Gowan. I mean, it's Martin Gowan. Listen,
Martin Cummings.
Martin Cummings. You, of course, acted with him in your scene on When Calls the Heart, but he also is the sheriff in Riverdale. Did you?
That's right. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I didn't have any scenes with him. My only scenes were with Veronica, Camila Mendez, and I believe there was one scene where both of the people who played her parents, they came in, but the majority of my stuff was just with Veronica.
Did you realize that came before the part on When Calls the Heart, correct? Riverdale
that came in 2018.
Okay, so you have all your little timelines down. So I'm thinking about when you met Martin, did you realize, and you had your scenes with him on When Calls the Heart, did you realize that he was on Riverdale?
Oh no, I definitely knew.
Oh yeah, because you're a fan.
I definitely. We actually spoke about that and kind of talked about his rise to popularity because of the character, because of Sheriff Keller on Riverdale. So we did talk about that.
Yeah. He's very different from what he is. And he's a wonderful actor. That man can make himself be anything and do anything. And he doesn't do any promotions. I've tried so hard to have him on and they're like, no, he's off with his family. He's done his thing. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, he's such a cool dude though. He's so great. He's such a wonderful, like you said, phenomenal actor. I won't lie. At first I thought he didn't like me. I was like, oh man, like I'm giving him so much. And I'm like, does this guy like me? But he was playing the character of Gowan, and Gowan's just such a miserable grump, and I was like, "Oh, that's what it is."
Yes,
he talked after, and he gave me some amazing gems, just kind of as a young actor in the industry. So shout out to Martin.
I remember you had scenes with Martin. You had scenes with Paul Green.
Correct.
Did you, by any chance, have scenes with anyone else that may have gotten cut from the episode that aired?
No, I believe it was mainly Martin and Paul.
Okay.
Yeah.
You had a big role in that.
A big role, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It caught me by surprise. I can tell you that much. I did not expect it to be as big as it was.
Well, sorry.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead, Kathy.
I was just going to say, there's been speculation. I've seen it. I think in this group and in other groups that the role you played was ultimately an angel, that you were there to kind of bring out the humanity in Henry. Yeah. And did you get any sense of that, or as far as it was just Walter, the character who happens to show up and be needy at Christmas time?
I got nothing about an angel. I played it as just a young man kind of passing through Hope Valley, and things just happened to align the way that they did. But no, I have nothing about an angel specific. I just felt like I wanted to bring a character that if people were going to see this gentleman for the first time, that I really wanted people to like him, and I really wanted to like him as well. Mm-hmm. And as a young man, I know what it's like to kind of go through struggles of life and trying to figure yourself out. And that's what Walter was ultimately trying to do, is just to try to be a better version of himself and take care of his family. And so I just wanted to be as honest and truthful as I could to that.
That came across. I mean, because I was wondering if it was intentional or is it just the way, it was directed and it came out that, us though, in our imaginations, we read into everything. The Hardys are like, very analytical and have to look at all the parts. I like that Christmas special. It was the last Christmas special that we've had with When Calls the
Yeah,
Hearties.
yeah, it was. There hasn't been one since.
No, we won another one, and we were hoping that if we had another one, you would show up.
Walter would show up again, yeah, because now he's probably a totally successful businessman because
Yeah.
he followed Henry's advice and he took the medicine and the overcoat from Paul. See, that's your entree back into Hope Valley. You got to bring that overcoat back.
I agree. I do agree that
Awesome.
that quote has to come back. It does need to make a comeback for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Now, when you were on the set, people say because well, first of all, did you know that it was just going to be the part for Christmas? Was there any hint that you would be coming back in any way or no? You
No,
just
just knew it was just that one time the Christmas special, and that was it. I heard nothing, no rumblings through the grapevine about anything else.
so I was also thinking in my mind, how did you know anyone to get the part? Or was it just like you auditioned, they put it out? It wasn't like you had connections or anything, no?
No, I just got the audition from my agent. And I actually remember that day very vividly.
You.
I uh I went to my friend's house and I asked for my audition. I wore suspenders and I had like an old timey Kangol hat because he had one. And I was like, hey, can I borrow that? And I remember just going in and wanting to be because I know it was a Christmas special, so I was like, okay, Christmas, and Christmas is actually my favorite holiday of all time. I love Christmas, like it's the greatest holiday of all time, and I stand by that. And I just wanted to bring like a Christmas charm to the character. And I
Mhm.
actually remember in one of my audition scenes, I believe I think the first take I whistled Jingle Bells, and then the second time I hummed it. And I think that kind of was like, oh, he's really about that Christmas spirit. So I really think that that helped me with getting the part.
Oh, look at you. That's cool. Like you were all into it. You had your own little backstory in your brain and you were all like, I like that. I think that's probably why we liked it because you were so into the part. It was like real for us.
How long
Um,
have you wanted to follow this? How long, or at what age were you when you knew you wanted to follow this path, Ryan?
Oh, I was in the fourth grade, so about 8, 9. Yeah, about then. Yeah, I remember watching an episode of The Fresh Prince of Bel Air with my family, and Will had done something that just made me laugh. There was like just such a joy that came out of my spirit. I remember turning to my mom and I said, "That's what I want to do. I want to be able to make
Wow,
other humans feel good about themselves when they watch something, to feel emotions." And I'm never gonna forget that.
that's pretty cool.
that's cool. That's a good reason to do it. Some people are like, I want to be famous.
Yeah.
Listen, don't get it twisted. I had that phase too. I had
Oh,
the I want to be famous phase, but it's more than that for me now, for sure.
sure. Sure, sure.
Do you keep watching When Calls the Heart? Have you kept up with any of the episodes or check
I
in
am
periodically?
not. I'm guilty of not keeping up. There are so many seasons. I feel like if I'm gonna do it, I have to just kind of commit to 10
Yeah.
plus years of
Yeah.
just
Bring
sitting
in
down
some
and watching.
snacks.
The
Here you
cast, the current cast is not up on it either, so don't feel bad.
Speaking of the current cast, Roxanne, you may know this. I don't know off the top of my head. Was Joseph and his family, were they around when Walter was there?
No.
No.
See, there's so much opportunity there. There's a black family in town. He's the town pastor and jack of all trades, and they've been alluding to the wife's Minnie. She's got a backstory with family back east or something.
The States,
And
yeah.
somebody in the comments said, "Oh, he'd be so perfect as to bring in as Minnie's little brother." And there's precedent. They've had other characters or actors on who played one role, and then a few years later, they came back as something else. That'd
Right.
be fabulous.
Oh, that would
Or
be
related somehow or
Mhm.
something. I
right.
think, yeah. Now, the cast, and we hear this all the time, the cast is so well established. They've been there together forever in their own little world. And everyone always says how welcoming they are. And when you were on, for the Christmas episodes, who was someone that you remember that sort of like took you under their wing, made you feel part of the cast, even though you were just there for that short time?
Paul
Who do you
Green.
think? Paul Green?
Paul was so phenomenal to work with. He and I had a lot of interesting and amazing conversations, and he just kind of was like, "Yeah, man, it's really nice to have a character like yours on the show. We were so happy to have another like a person of color." And he was very welcoming, very open, and
Yeah.
yeah, we just had wonderful conversation with each other.
I wouldn't be surprised because that's his true
Oh,
personality.
you can hear that? The fireworks? Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are shooting fireworks because it's Halloween. So
Yeah, it's okay. We have trick or treat and Halloween here too. I'm like, somebody go ring my doorbell, but I have a long driveway and my family, I think, is done. So I haven't had anybody ding dong saying anything. So it's okay. And it's kind of raining a little bit now. So they're all finished.
Yeah.
So do you have anything that your experience, something either a scene or just I know you have a great experience with Paul, just anything that you found fascinating, the set itself that you take home with you and you remember when you were filming?
Oh my God, the set. The set was probably my favorite part because it literally felt like I went back in time, for starters. We
Mhm.
have this piece of land out in Vancouver that is just like they turned the set into a period piece. You can see
Yeah.
all the buildings, the old time buildings, and their detail in the buildings. Like there's no building that's empty. Like you go inside, for example, I think I went inside one of the doctor's office, and
Mhm.
they had it like down to the detail, all the things that you would find in the doctor's office. But I think my favorite part from being especially in the special was how much it felt like Christmas.
Aw.
That to me, magical. And I
Yeah.
think that really helped me get into the character of Walter more because I knew what time of the season it was in One Calls the Heart at the time. So that really brought out a lot to me. So for sure, the set, it just felt like Christmas. Felt very
Nice.
joyous.
Now, do you actually drive the car? One of the picture show cars? Do you actually drive it?
I did.
Yes.
I
Did
did.
Nate have to give you a little lesson on how to drive the car?
Yeah, he gave me a little bit of a lesson, but
Yeah.
it was probably one of my favorite parts being on that set, driving one of the old timey vintage cars. I love that.
I know. Most people do get when they get behind the wheel of the Nate loves it. He's always driving them up and down and he takes like video for us and he shows us what it's like early in the morning and then he puts the car to bed or he's taking it out for the day,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool. You have like all these wonderful comments in here, but before we get to them, where do you think, like in your mind, where is Walter? What happened to Walter?
I do believe that Walter has become a little bit better as a salesman, and I think he's far more successful now than he was back in the Christmas special. I do believe that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, we're going to put some stuff up here.
Okay.
First question for Ryan. I see he was in Riverdale. Did he get to work with either Martin or Chris on the show? So we kind of established that one. I mean, we answered that one, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I didn't get to work with Martin or Chris, but I did get to work with Camila Mendez, and that was a lot of fun.
Well, that was your dream, so
That
that was even
was
better.
that
Now,
was
Chris was on years after you, so there was like no way that
no, that yeah, not possible on that one.
I was wondering if Walter was able to contact Henry to get a better job in Union City. What do you think?
I do think he did. I do. I really believe that Walter is in a much better place than he was before, and he's thriving as a salesman now.
Okay, that sounds good. Sounds good to me. Um, there's just like a whole bunch. You can see the comments yourself too,
And
like
there's
all the cute things that they're saying. Oh,
They hope you'll be back in Hope Valley next season.
yes, yes.
I would love to come back. Honestly, if they said, "Hey, Ryan, we'd love to have you back," for sure. If Walter gets to come back to Hope Valley, please.
Now, hi Tia. She has a great idea right here. I'd like to see Walter be mentored by Joseph and possibly meet someone, say like a younger sister of Minnie's.
Oh, that's
Oh,
dope. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, Walter's a very charming man, so he might charm any of the women that come around.
Now, what's funny is sometimes people are here, they don't comment. Like directors have been known to pop in and say they were here, so they could be hearing this stuff. You never know.
You
You
never
never
know.
know who's hearing what. All right, we've got Lillian. She says, loved when Walter said to Henry, someday I'm going to have a coat like that. And Henry says, I suspect you will. It we were talking about this, Kathy and I, and we when our little chat here has finished, she and I are going to and we'll say our goodbyes. She and I are going to analyze the season. That's what we do. Just because we're dying and starving for When Calls the Heart content, and we're celebrating, 10 years and 100th season before it airs again. But we were saying how it was sort of like the beginning of like the kindness and the redemption of Henry. Remember, you were saying that Martin was in character and he was kind of grumpy and you thought he didn't like you, but he was just so into his character and he was kind of like gruff and almost like cranky and afraid to be touchy feely and kind,
Right.
But it was also like he couldn't help himself.
Yes.
So it started pouring out of him. And, thank goodness, I don't know if he would have even really started the journey seriously if he hadn't had the encounter with Walter. That's why where I asked the question was maybe Walter Little Angel sent down because it had such an impact on Henry and starting him on that journey. It's almost like he was placed there, by destiny that for them to encounter each other.
Right. I mean, that's a very interesting take, but in all honesty, no. I mean, I was just a young man passing through town that felt like he could make the world a better place through his little bit of joy, and it ended up being that way. Because even in the scene where I'm driving and I see Carson on the side of the road, just like that's something that I would personally do as well. If I saw someone in need, I'd, do what I can to help them out and assist. And I'm really glad that they wrote that Walter does stop on the side of the road and help him out, because my little bit of kindness in turn allowed me to get the medication that I needed to help get rid of that cough that I had. Right. So kindness goes a long way in this world.
It does.
Yes.
Yeah. And when you do it without expecting anything, I think that's what makes it so much better.
Yeah.
And you wanted him to succeed. He was like so sincere. Arlene says, I'd like to see Ryan in a Hallmark movie as a young lead. Hallmark needs to build the next crop of leading men. That's true.
That's a good one.
Oh, thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you for that, Arlene.
Get you in that Rolodex. Oh yeah.
Ooh, there we go.
That's what Andrew Walker calls it. He says the Rolodex.
The Rolodex. Yeah.
Rolodex, not Dex. It's not a watch. I loved Walter's character. He was so joyful, hopeful, and hardworking. Would love it if they brought his character back. See, I told you, they all like that.
Thank you, Kathleen. Appreciate that. Thank you.
And then Deb was saying that it felt like Christmas in Hope Valley thanks to Lucas. So the character, Chris McNally's character, Lucas, had turned it into like a bazaar with all the different little setups. Now I have a food question for you.
Okay.
Did you get to sample any of that? Did you stand there and you have so much change and you want to get a waffle? Did they have real waffles? Do you remember? Were they real?
They did have real waffles. Yes, they did.
Now, did you have to eat like 42 of them or?
No, I didn't have to eat that many at all. I remember actually the first couple takes. Did they ask me to? I think the first couple takes they asked me to eat, and then we did some without me eating. But I don't remember what made the final cut. I think it was me eating in the final cut.
Yeah. They look so delicious. I did a whole little research on those type of waffles and how to make them and whatnot. Because I like to do little videos of cooking that go along with everything that's in Hope Valley.
Right.
And I remember watching it. I even think there was like powdered sugar and blueberries or something. It looked so good. Now you didn't try any of the sausages, right?
No, the sausages.
That was the mustard with the brush that you were trying to.
I really loved that day. That day was so much fun. I don't know why. I think I just found like the goofiness and the childlike quality to Walter, because he was trying to do better, but then kept messing up. And he's like, oh no. Like that to me I had a lot of fun on that day. That day was a lot of fun too.
It was a good one.
Yeah.
Annie says, when Walter returns Carson's coat, he will be wearing a coat just like Henry's with the fur collar.
Yay.
I believe it. I believe he will.
Yeah. Again, you just got lots of you need to come back. Love his energy.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Gina. Appreciate that. I hope. Hey, listen, when it calls the heart, I hope you guys bring me back. I'd love to come back.
Okay. You did a wonderful job playing Walter. I loved your character. Would love to see you back in season 10. Hi, Kathy and Roxanne. Hey. Walter, oh my God, Walter, oh my God, Ryan has such a sweet spirit. Not Walter, Ryan does. They are right. He needs to join the Hallmark team of actors. You
Yeah.
do.
Thank you, Viola.
Let's get on that. Do you have a publicist? We'll tell
I
your
do not yet. I have had conversations with my team about, potentially tackling a couple more. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. I think he didn't have to act too hard. Oh, it says by listening to, she doesn't think you had to act too much. So it was like very authentic because it was like very close to who you are.
Yeah.
I would say Walter and I have a lot of similarities.
Yeah. And this is sweet. We can end on this one. Jean is saying, Ryan, you have a beautiful smile. You do.
Thank
You have a
you.
gorgeous smile.
Thank you so
Nice.
much. Oh, I
You're
appreciate that. Oh my God, you got it warming my heart. Thank you.
We're so happy that you came on.
No, thank you for having me. I really enjoy just being able to answer questions and even relive little moments of Walter, because one of my friends, one of my acting friends, he was like, honestly, man, what you have done with this character, and he talks about it even to this day. He says, what you have done with this character and you coming into the show, like you changed the game. And he gave me my flowers. He said, I wanted to let you recognize that, and I hope you understand that you have really changed a lot of people's lives and opinions with this character. And here we are, like all these beautiful and amazing comments, people just kind of just saying so many sweet things that I didn't even know. I had no idea. So
Yeah, you're
hopefully,
definitely a fan favorite.
hopefully I'll
Now,
see you back.
Before we go, for those of us that are out there and we enjoy Murdoch series, if you're in Canada, you get to see it before we do, but you're in the new season and you're in the first episode. We talked a little bit behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
So, do you want to just tell us a little bit of what you can share?
Of course, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I played a character named Trevor, and he lives next door to where Llewellyn is staying. And so I come home and someone has broken into my apartment and stolen some very precious coins that belong to my father. And so I'm a little hysterical. I'm a little concerned, and I go and I knock, and Llewellyn's there, and he actually says, I do have a little bit of experience with these matters, and so he comes and he helps me basically figure out who took my coins.
Okay. And only one episode, that one, the first one?
I think I'm also in the second episode, but I don't say anything. I think it's just
Okay.
a party scene that's happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's another cool set, I think. I think they
Oh
have
my
a set.
gosh.
Yeah.
If you see what they have where the studio is located, it literally looks like, again, like very classic vintage town. The detail, like they do very specific work on the details.
Yeah.
Being in that environment, it helps with the acting. You don't have to think too much.
No. And it's another wonderful cast that have been together forever. And so I'm glad you're a part of it. I'm
Thank
looking
you.
forward to it. When I finally get to watch it, I'm going to send you a message. I'm going to let
Please
you
do.
know.
I would love to hear your opinion on it. Thank you.
I will.
Will you also keep us posted on what you're doing next? I mean, as you get more projects and movies and shows that you're featured on, let us know so we can share it with the group so we can look out for it.
Yeah.
And of course, if you get an invitation to come back to When Calls the Heart, yeah, we definitely need to hear about that one.
I definitely will keep you in the loop if that happens.
All right, good. All right, Ryan, thank you. You have a good night. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you
Thanks
so much.
for having me. I appreciate it.
Take
Blessings.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a nice young man.
Yes.
And I have Paramount Plus, so I am going to check out Mayor of Kingstown.
You know what? That means that you get to see Chris McNally. He's in 8 of the 10 8 of the 10 episodes that's coming out. It's not out yet. It's Pink Ladies, Rise of the Pink Ladies, Grease, Rise of the Pink Ladies. He plays a teacher. He's got a big role in that. 8 episodes, and I think altogether there are 10, if I'm not mistaken. So that's what's coming up. All right. That was a wonderful interview. He was fabulous. I'm so excited that he came on because it's something, we always talk about that character. All right, Miss Kathy. So, do we want to talk a little bit about I'm going to put this up there before we join in. So, we have a little like we're transitioning. So, if somebody needs to use a bathroom, go get a drink before we start talking. Now's the time. But this is interesting. Karen, hi Karen. This is the first time I've joined you guys live. I want you to know how much I enjoy watching this every week. You crack me up. Oh, I didn't even know you said that. I just thought you went. That's so nice. Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Thank you for commenting. We like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, so we're going to focus on
Seasons.
yes, we're going to do the Christmas episode because I feel like a lot was happening in that episode that kind of bled through the rest of the season. Dorothy, how can we watch Rise of the Pink Ladies? It is not on yet, but when it is on, I don't know if you're part of the Chris McNally fan page. We will definitely put that up, but it's on Paramount Plus. Christina's writing that for you.
It will be.
It will be. It's not on yet. Yep. Yeah. Bryson, hey, is Kathy and Roxanne? I got my season 9 DVD last week. I have all the DVDs from seasons 1 through 9, and I have a full shelf. Oh, nice.
You're gonna
nice.
have to build some more shelves there because this show is gonna go on forever.
It is forever and ever. Okay, so let's see. So in the Christmas episode, what I loved is that Lucas was the center of the now people that are out there. We're getting up to the whole triangle thing, and I do not want to relive that. That's not what this is. But I'm looking at this from an analytical perspective here. So when you're looking the whole thing was like centered around him. They gave him that big part, and we really got to know him in that episode. And you could see.
Oh, did the town?
Pardon me? Yes.
The town. They got to know him too.
And we really got to see who he was. He had a lot of sweet moments with Elizabeth. One of my favorite being when she's reading to little Jack, and he comes over and he says, "Are you making memories with your mother with the book?"
Mm-hmm.
I love it. And I know that there was a big part for Nathan, but if you pay attention, Nathan was offered a job and he said nothing to anyone. And of course, it's your own private business. I get that. But he had the opportunity to at least say to Elizabeth when she said, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm fine." To at least say, "I have a big decision I have to make. I don't want to talk about it," or whatever. But the way they wrote it for him was to keep it all inside. And to me, those are secrets. I feel like he had the whole secretive
forthcoming.
Yes. And she was there trying to be a good friend, but he just didn't reach out or reciprocate.
And I think that's part of his nature. I don't think he was deliberately trying to be secretive with her. I think that's just, he's a Mountie. He's repressed, with his background, his dad, and I don't fault him for that.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what a take I got from this? So obviously on first viewing, it's like all about Elizabeth and Lucas. But this time when I looked at it, I got the sense that it wasn't so much Lucas doing things to impress Elizabeth or to reach out to her, to make contact with her. I got a sense that he was really trying to burrow in and find a place, make a place for himself in Hope Valley.
Yes.
To bond with the people, in, outlying towns, because he invited everybody to come in. I think he just wanted to belong and he wanted people to accept him. And I just found that very endearing. And I think Elizabeth did too. That was one of the results of it. But I think that's really what was going on with him. He was looking for a home. And I think because of Elizabeth that he wanted Hope Valley to be his home, but then
and that's kind of like his theme. He even says that, especially when we get to the part where they go to Union City, he says, remember in the beginning, I'm a tumbleweed is his word, but now you can see that he's grown out of that. He feels like there's a place for him. He even says as the season goes on about the books, like he loved books that didn't always make, him like very popular. So he's always been wanting a sense of home. And then here he started to find it. I remember in the season 6, that's sort of what Abigail even said to him, "You're one of our own now," So he's got established relationships, and it's coming out of that whole Christmas episode, even where he works with the children and and Flo helps them, and he does the lanterns that are in the sky. The whole thing, I don't know. I just thought the whole thing was beautiful.
We're going to have to do, by the way, a special episode just on the whole relationship between Hope Valley and Fire, because there's something going on there. We'll save it for another time. But
okay,
yeah.
I love that. Okay, definitely. All right. So, what are some other things that you learned by rewatching season 7?
That Martin, that Henry actually has the capacity for redemption, and he started taking his first baby steps there.
Yes.
Yeah, nothing else is coming to mind right off the top of my head. But I think those were the two things that really, really impressed me. And as always, please, you guys in the comments, share with us. I mean, I think with everybody here, the first time we watched it again, everybody was focused on Elizabeth, Lucas, Nathan, the triangle. But I'm curious, as you watched it again, in retrospect, you could kind of put that kind of behind you because you know how everything turned out. What storylines, what characters just really jumped out at you, and what did you feel about it?
That's true. Thank you for saying that. There were so many little things that that stood out for me. Now, going back with Henry, I agree with what you're saying. And you saw him it was almost like he had this lightness about him. But then as time went on and we realized what was going to be happening in the business towards the end of season 8, that's when that heavier side came back to him. But I loved how they grew the relationship between Lucas and Henry.
Mm-hmm.
And Lucas is walking with Henry, I call it the boardwalk in the town, and passes Elizabeth, and they kind of have funny feelings because he gave his heartfelt answers and opinions about her book, and she kind of felt awkward. And he notices, and he's got this smile on his face, Henry, and he goes, "What's that about?" And he's like, free advice. And he goes, "You want some free advice?" He goes, "All right." He goes, "Don't give any free advice." And he has a big smile on his face. So they have a fun lightheartedness. I love when the guys are sitting around the table because they spend quite a bit of time together because they're planning the wedding for Clara and Jesse, and the coming back and forth, and they're playing cards, and I love it when Paul is Paul. I say Paul, and I mean Carson. He's upset, and he has this look on his face, and Lucas says, "Well, you got that face like when you got a bad hand." And Henry rolls his eyes. He's like, "Oh, like you had to tell him he has a tell?" And he's like, "Well, yeah." And they look at each other with their little eye movements. It's cute. I forgot how cute that was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When the guys get together because they're so different.
Yes.
Under normal circumstances, half the time the little subgroups are at each other's throats.
Yes.
Is this where oh my gosh, Lucas didn't tell Nathan that Elizabeth was right behind him, and he's like, "Oh, those women," and it just blah, blah, blah. And then he discovers Elizabeth's behind him. I thought I was going to die. It was so funny. It's like,
I loved it. And I thought Lucas was a little snarky in that way, but you also, even though the two of them, because Elizabeth talks about this, that she's attracted to both men, even though that was going on, Lucas and Nathan were not mean to each other.
nope.
They kind of laughed and joked to a certain point. They did.
Nathan was a little snarky with them.
Yes, up to a certain point.
Yeah.
And but then it got the way the writers wrote it, it really got darker, which is whatever. I like also when they were just the fun lightheartedness of all of it. which is hard to direct when all those actors are in one scene, but they're at the bridal bachelor party, I guess it is, in the bridal shower, and Lucas is trying to teach her with the darts, and her dart winds up in Nathan's drink. Now, Bill is so over the top in this. So one of my favorite scenes of all times, and I've talked about this before, through all the seasons. Well, first of all, I enjoy the relationship between Bill and Clara. And she's so sweet and he's such a pain in the neck.
Curmudgeon.
Yes, but she's his soft spot. Like,
Right.
and I love when he's I'll make the cake. And she's like, Lucas is taking care of that. He goes, Lucas doesn't bake. She goes, Gustav. Oh, yeah, he's got Gustav. Well, then I'll take care of the food. Lucas is like, well, what about me? And she goes, you'll be too busy. I cried when I watched it even again. Walking me down the aisle because you're the closest thing I have to a father. And then he just really hugs her. And I'm like, I love that.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
And the little humorous parts is, I believe this is the episode where Nathan comes in, or he's standing there and he sees Elizabeth. So there's Elizabeth, Lucas, Nathan, and Elizabeth waves to Lucas, and Nathan thinks he's waving to her, and then he notices, oh, that's going on. That's why I don't understand why anyone thought other things, but okay, I'll go with that. But they had little snippets of stuff, and also just how they came together to plan the wedding and do everything, and everybody was selfless. Even Rosemary.
Yeah.
You know, she was she so likes to be in charge, but you know, she's got a good heart and she usually comes up with some great contributions. So
she does each time. Well, Rosemary, love her.
yeah.
There's a fun talking about Rosemary. I always remembered this, and I don't know if anybody else caught it, and I'm sure they did. I think it was like the second episode, which would really be the first episode of the season after Christmas. And Elizabeth is out there talking. They're walking the boardwalk with Rosemary. And I forget how they get on the subject, but she says about the actor that she knew back in New York. And she told him, maybe you should change it up and do comedy, and Elizabeth goes, how did it go? And she goes, oh, I hear Chaplin, he's doing a great job. And I'm like, oh, that's hilarious, right?
Yeah. So I just, these little touchstones, and of course, mercantile guy Ned, he's the inventor of everything.
Yes.
And Rosemary knew everybody, so
yes.
I think it's I can't. That's one of the things I'm looking forward to in season 10. What new things are going to pop up? And I'm surprised they haven't had cameos by actors portraying some of the stars that Rosemary knows.
Yes. Do you know that they do that in they do fun things like that in Murdoch Mysteries?
Oh,
like
okay.
you were saying, they do fun things like that. Another thing that I learned or I realized was that Faith and Carson, they had some juicy kisses.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's kissing her out and like he's holding her face, and he's just, and I think the two of them, the two actors, were pretty close and had a good relationship. And they were just, he was holding her face and they had like, I'm like,
that's why I don't understand why they act like Elizabeth and Lucas' bridge kiss was like the raciest thing ever. It's like, have you people been paying attention?
I know. I was like, okay.
Elizabeth and Jack used to kiss pretty good, and like,
oh yeah,
and Faith, this was not uncharted territory.
So I think that this was also the season where I realized that they were trying to write around her pregnancy of Faith, about Andrea's pregnancy, but Andrea her character had just been away helping her father, and then she comes back, and then she's there for a short amount of time, only to be sent back again. And it kind of, I felt like, was a little bit choppy, but they were doing what they had to do.
Right.
But here's what caught my attention, and I thought, oh, this is ironic. She has a decision to make. Should she take that nursing job or not? And she's like, we could do a long distance relationship. He said we could do a long distance relationship. And I'm like, this sounds familiar. It was the same sort of conversation that they had with Carson. Was they both said they love each other, right? In this season. and she decided to stay only to then become a doctor and have to go.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, this was sort of like the same kind of thing that we were seeing when Carson left, you know?
Yep.
Yeah. And I didn't realize how similar it was. I do know she said that in what was it, season 8 when he left. I know that they say have that conversation. This is kind of what we went through before, but it really was what they went through before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they were in different places. She was more mature now. I kind of feel like they outgrew each other almost.
Yeah, well, only because he was leaving, and so they had to write it that way. And I didn't think it was very organic that, all of a sudden he found the ring, but nope, I'm gonna get here and head out of town. It's not like they hadn't been separated for
Yeah.
a long while before, so but they did the best they could with what they had. They didn't have a choice.
There was a lot of humor too in the story. I mean, in the storyline for this season, there was like that whole food wars with Gustav. That's when we got to meet Gustav, right? And what he was cooking, and then of course, Bill tasting it, thinking it's delicious, and then trying to like repeat it, and oh, we're gonna class up the place is what Lucas said, and they're kind of at each other. I love though, and I know I've talked about this before. I think when Loretta was on, I loved how they made her when she was acting like it was
door to door.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They band together and made her go around and deliver the barbecue.
Yep.
They were all invited to a barbecue that the two of them were going to combine and do. I'm like, oh my God, that's hilarious.
And she tried to play it off, and they're like, we're not having it.
Yeah. Which was good. What about Fiona and Kevin? I didn't realize.
I love Kevin so much.
I know. And I didn't realize how much of a relationship they kind of were going towards with them. And then it just was like gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Along with Kevin.
I know.
That's one thing I don't like, that they start these storylines, they get you kind of, oh, yeah, I could get into that. All of a sudden, they just stop it. And with no rhyme or reason.
I know. So I didn't realize how big of a story it was. It wasn't little hints. It was pretty big,
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, and then he was just gone. I mean, he was even involved because she borrows when Rosemary and Fiona go to get in the car and drive away, she breaks down and she does whatever to it. She kind of tries to hide it and have him help her out. And then they're going to be, walking together in the wedding. I don't know. It just, there was just quite a bit there. And then it was just gone for whatever reason.
Tell Deb Johnston has a comment at 8:49 your time. I wasn't going to say it, Deb. I was biting my tongue, but
what was it?
She goes, so Kathy, oh, it moved.
Okay,
so Kathy, like Frank gone, like Kevin gone. Yes, I was thinking Frank, but I wasn't going to say it because the horse is dead, and I was going to quit beating it. But yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Oh, dear Lord, dear Lord. There's a lot more to discuss, and we will, but I want to just catch up with some of the comments that people are making, because then there's so many of them and we lose them. I've been trying to star them along the way, but we'll see. Oh, yes. We didn't even touch on this, the whole Molly thing. Well, in the Christmas one, remember where he asks her if, Bill can't find the gift, and she's like, you asked if I went in your desk, not on your, desk. And here she knew where the gift was all along. I love that gift, but that was from the season before, the Christmas episode before. That was from when it was baby Jack, and he gave him the pocket watch.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not the pocket watch, the compass.
So you'll always find your way. Yeah.
Yes. I love that. Yeah.
Karen, stop.
What happened?
Karen, she said, we need to be worried if Kathy likes a new character. Yeah, you kind of do.
I'm going to talk a little bit more about Molly, because I haven't gotten into that yet, because there's a tender scene. I love that, what goes on with her and Carson. Henry and Lucas are the best dressed men in Hope Valley, and they are. They really are.
No argument there.
No. What's this? Tia. What's Tia saying? We got to see the humbling and softening of Flo with letting Fiona teach her the cost of gossip with food poisoning. She realized that words have consequences and she kept her dignity. True. You are correct. And I think that they were softening her because when a character is too bratty, is what we'll call it, or too jerky, we don't know how to make them have a love interest. And I think they were grooming her and getting her ready to open her heart because she was very much in love with her husband, very much in love with her husband. And getting her ready with Ned. I was looking at that. It's nice that you say that, Teresa or Tia. What happened was there's a cute scene between Faith and Carson inside the mercantile. And then they look at each other like, oh, they're like, I think that's how Ned and Flo got to get closer because she's working right next to him. Yeah.
And I like Flo with obviously with Molly. They do girl friendships so well.
They do.
Everyone calls her Flo and Molly and Elizabeth and Rosemary and Fiona and Faith. I just think they do. And then they reach out to they're starting to reach out to some of the younger folks.
Yeah.
When they brought the niece Allie in, and they would show into the shop, and I really think they're doing a great job with the females empowering each other and being there for each other.
I think they do that for the entire show. Like, I mean, they're always empowering women. Like they have roles that are strong. And even though it's like out of character for that time, I don't know that it really is. I mean, there had to be women like that,
There had to be, but I forgive them if they are, a little bit out of time, because I question whether or not they'd have a black preacher,
Yeah.
in charge of the town. I question whether if Henry had seen Walter stranded by the road, he wouldn't have just kept on going by in real life. But I'll take their version of Hope Valley over reality any day of the week and twice on Sundays.
Yes. Yes, I agree because it's what we need. And Brian Bird always says that. Brian Bird always says that we should be enjoying this and loving this, and because there's not much like it out there, and who knows for how long it'll be, even though he wants to go on and on forever, that we should be spending our time enjoying and loving, which is what we're doing.
Hope Valley may not be the town that was real, but Hope Valley is the town we need. I agree with you on that.
Ooh, very good. That's a good tagline. Kathy says, after the saloon incident with Amos Dixon in season 6 and the look on Lucas's face when he came outside, yes, the look on his face was heartbreaking. I think Christmas festival was a way to redeem himself in the town. And you are correct. Like what Kathy was saying, it was about him and the town itself. Yeah. I guess this is my reference to like trying to keep Andrea on before she had to go with the baby. The whole storyline drove me nuts. Carson not thinking that Hope Valley needed a doctor. Oh. Yeah. What do you mean another doctor, right? Yeah. Yeah. What's this one? If there was a contest, I think the best kissers are Lucas and Elizabeth. Those scenes look so natural, like they were made for each other in real life. I put a post up. I don't remember on what site, but it was a video that it's someone from Brazil made on Instagram, and it's all their different kisses. And I was like, they do a stage kiss like nobody else.
Yeah.
And it's so authentic. And I think because they must be very comfortable with each other as scene partners.
They're good friends.
Yeah. And so they trust each other and they can just get into that moment. And someone had asked what a stage kiss was, and I was like, they're kissing.
It looks like more than it is.
But it's not really what it is to them in real life. It's just they're so authentic. They do it. They're great kissers, those two.
I read that an interview with Elizabeth, with Aaron.
I knew you meant.
Yes, that they actually sat down and talked through how they wanted the whole bridge scene to go, and the kisses and the intensity of it. And I can't help but think that they did that even earlier on with their interactions. not just even before they were at the kissing, just the looks, the intensity, okay, pull back on that a little bit because we're not supposed to know who Elizabeth favors yet. And yeah, I think they mapped that out. They blocked that out very carefully.
They did. They said how do we want to do it? We wanted to go for it because they had held back for so long. They did a really good job.
Yep.
So now moving on to some of the other storylines, let's talk about the wedding of Clara and Jesse. Deb, she's here. She was saying every wedding has some kind of tragedy. It can't just be the wedding. There's got to be some drama and angst. So there was the fire and the burnt dress for Elizabeth. These are just some of them. Before that, with Rosemary and Lee, there was the flood, and they had to use all the material from her dresses for bandages and all her food to feed everyone.
Yeah.
Right. And then even before that, when Mary, the character Mary was married, I forget what Mary's last name was. She was going to get married, but the son was so upset that she didn't want it, So, and then someone said, well, what about Ned and Flo? Well, his daughter came, remember, and she caused a big ruckus. And who else got married? And there was like, who are we missing? I'm trying to think. Anyway, they were like worried about what's going to happen with Elizabeth and Lucas. Of course, there's going to be something.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Doesn't mean they're not going to get married. They all got married and they're all happily married.
Yep.
So it'll be good, right?
I think it might be funny. I don't know.
Oh, so Clara's, I know it should, I think it should be funny. I think it should be like a hot mess. Clara and Jesse, that's where I was going. She has that terrible monsoon. And remember, she wanted to get married outside. And I remember Jesse saying this to Rosemary. Rosemary's like, it's damp. It's not a good idea. No. And then it wound up being a hot mess, but then they band together. Well, one of the things that I love is Lucas is in the library and he's, putting some new books out. And Elizabeth comes in and she's like, oh, hello. And he's like, hello. And he's like, I'll put those books away for you. And she's like, okay. And he gets like, he walks up to her and they're like really close together. And she's like, I'll see it. I'll see it. Like she's got her hand behind her. I'll see it, Claire and Jesse. And she can't get the latch to the door to get out.
She was entranced.
Yes. Now, right before that was a scene with Nathan. And it was a touching scene, but it was different. It wasn't so much, because I was writing down the things. It wasn't so much that it was about their feelings for each other. It was about being a Mountie and about how you see things in life. And again, she learned that from Jack. Totally different kind of a relationship where when she's with Lucas, she's like, can't find the door. Like all those little hints along the way. And I think this is when he was trying to show Robert what it took to be a Mountie. Remember, Robert was going to be a Mountie. Just something I saw, like a little different.
There's a million examples of that.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. Getting back, I saw my notes. Sorry. Getting back to there was the chickenpox outbreak too, right? That whole and what.
You take the high road, I'll take the low road, and we'll make sure everybody gets notified. Yeah.
Getting back to Henry about this part, he was going to be interviewed, right?
The black lady.
Yes. And when she is there, nobody says anything. Lucas doesn't say much. Bill doesn't say much. But Bill gets all in his suit because he thinks they're going to have a picture of him and he'll be quoted. And here she just goes with Fiona. I know.
He really does have a high opinion of himself.
There was that nice conversation between Henry and Elizabeth where he's like, they just wanted to dig up my past. And she said, but you're missing the message here. Nobody said anything. They protected you. You're one of their, and Fiona said that. They're very protective of each other here. So I'm like, yes, that was the beginning of, remember I said he had a lightheartedness, but then as they get more into the oil and then the mind thing, it goes the other way. I guess it had to
forward 2 steps back until we got to the ultimate where he finally hit the knees and said, okay, I give up.
Yes. So a lot, just so much went down. What did we forget? Anybody want to talk about anything? Or you, Kathy? I'm just going to look and see where there's some more comments. Oh, that was the other thing. Someone's writing in her journal. Hold on. Yes, I know what she's going to say. Yes, she's writing in her journal. Yes, you are correct. I was going to talk about this. But when she does this is what I was trying to say about that other scene where she's all goo, can't get to the door and get out of the library with Lucas. But prior to that with Nathan, it was something different about honor and Jack and whatnot and being a Mountie. When she's talking and writing in her journal and doing that overview narrative, and you'll see her, she's sitting in the library typing and working, and Lucas is bringing her tea and a muffin. And she said, there are those who challenge me when I need it the most. And she sees Lucas, and others whose life challenges require my support. And then there's Nathan.
Yep.
And the whole thing happened with the father. And then, of course, I'll take care of Allie. And he goes, she has such a way about you. I could see him falling in love with her, but her relationship with him is always centered around helping him, or like Allie, and then it's a different feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was getting to. Here's a question. Many have going through traumatic things. Jack almost drowned. Lee hit by a tree. Rosie with the chicken pox. Nate hit by a car. Anything happened to Lucas or Elizabeth?
Yeah, they got hit by the thunderbolt. I don't think, oh, stop. I don't think anything that bad has happened to them yet.
No.
Yep, they got rained on for their picnic, but that wasn't a bad thing.
Viola, Elizabeth and Nathan's relationship seem more of a brother or friend type. I don't think for Nathan. I think Nathan was very smitten with her. Very much cared about her, but he didn't know enough of her because he didn't open his heart to he was too protected and guarded, and that was his personality.
They didn't explore this. They spent 3 seasons before they told us that Elizabeth's motivation was really, she was kind of channeling Jack through Nathan. But I think if they had bothered to delve into Nathan's motivation, I think there was a lot more guilt associated with that than they actually gave voice to, because he actually came to Hope Valley because he felt guilty that Nathan had died taking his place.
You mean Jack had died,
taking his place. And I'm not making any judgment calls on that. I'm just saying that I think that was a motivating factor, and that may have been a good part of Nathan's feeling, even if he didn't realize it.
Yeah. There's a couple of things. You're absolutely correct. Right here, Lillian saying, didn't like when Nathan asked Elizabeth if she liked the flowers and says, I'm not one to shy away from competition. Since when was Elizabeth's competition or a prize? Yeah, I know. He just had a different macho man kind of, is supposed to be in keeping with who he was, but it didn't really work. So is this also, what else? What are we missing? Are we missing the whole scene where they go to Union? Is it Union where they go on the date and the non-date? And
that in this, it was season 7, wasn't it?
The date and the non-date in the library.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Union City. Yeah, that was.
Well, that too, Union City.
If this were a date, that one.
Yes.
He is a smooth, silky talker.
I know. And
between that and Dangerous Liaisons, I'm like, dude, you need to stop.
I know. And then I remember watching, when I was sitting there watching them in Union City, and he says that he always knew that when he find the woman, like, he would be ready to settle down, and she goes, and you promise to be patient. And I'm thinking to myself, how long am I going to have to wait for these two to get together? How many seasons is it going to have to be?
He was better than Daddy. Daddy waited 5 years. He only waited 3. He had to wait 3.
Yes. Both of those were in there. Did they use the mayor's office for the lobby of the hotel? That's Bryson. That's a really good question. I want to write that down and look. Did they? They could have. They're good like that. Well, yes, Peter. He's been busy. All right. Okay, lobby of hotel and mayor's office. Good question. Yes, it was perfection. It really was. It was. Okay. I love when she comes down the steps and he looks at her and he sees her.
Yeah.
I'm like, and just the whole thing was wonderful. Now, what disturbed me? All right. I'm trying to see what people when was Elizabeth okay. What disturbed me was the reaction that Nathan had, where he was chopping the wood and getting mad and all that
That
stuff.
spoiled baby reaction, that
I'm
one?
like, why? Like, are you kidding me? You're not even dating. Like you wanted like you should said something. She says that to him. I
Yeah.
went because he asked.
You know why I went with him? Because he asked.
Yeah. And everybody's like, oh, who's going to tell Nathan? And they're trying to hide. How about Lee and Rosemary with the baby?
Yeah, we gotta go now.
And she looks gorgeous in that white coat. And he sits down and on a blanket, but he serves her coffee. And she doesn't like coffee. And he serves her coffee and macarons, but he says macaroons, but they're really called macarons.
I've always called them macaroons.
Pardon me?
I've always called them macaroons.
Well, there are macaroons and there's a macaron. A macaroon is a coconut kind of confection. A macaron
He was
is
doing with macarons.
it's a French pastry.
Ah,
Yeah. And it's made with almond flour. It's very difficult to make. They're very expensive. They're very delicious.
I'm
And that's
sorry, I'm never going out with you again because you mispronounced the macarons. So
well, I was just
get off the
saying
blanket.
he's supposed to be French.
Somebody call Nathan and get him over here. He's up.
Stop it. He's supposed to be French. It's a little faux pas. Okay. It's a little thing for me, even though I don't pronounce everything correctly. Look at this. Okay. So anyway, I love that scene. It's gorgeous. She on the picnic that they're having, I mean, that makes like a wonderful poster. And the whole ride, and he says to little Jack, "I promise to take good care of your mother." I'm like, oh, it's so much airtime they got
That
together.
couldn't talk at that time, but he was thinking, I like this dude.
Yes, he
He
was.
can't be here. Yeah, I like him.
He was. And I liked like they got so much airtime together, just so much airtime.
Yeah.
The picture show was cute too in the very beginning. That was cute because Rosemary didn't go with those sunglasses. She didn't get to go on her trip, and he does the whole picture show with her. I think all of that was cute. It just so much happened in this one that I loved. Okay, so I wanted to share this. Rose always has some kind of scoop going on. Rose, I believe in season 10, Elizabeth will be injured. You and I are like dead silent.
It could be. I mean, there's going to be some kind of drama associated with the wedding.
So, Rose, why? Why are you saying this, Rose? What did you hear? Or is it just something with the book wagon or the chuck wagon? What about Luther Brandt? And he thinks he's Luther Brandt, and she's like, "Why do you?" And she's flirting with him. Do you think that that's you? And he's like, "Oh no, no, no!" And later on, it's a combo of whoever. I love their whole thing. It's so flirty.
Maybe that loan shark will get out of prison and come after Lucas, and that's how they introduce Jeanette if she's going to show up, and somehow Elizabeth gets injured this time. Who knows?
Who knows? Arlene says Elizabeth threw off that jacket like, yes, I'm yours. Arlene, you're so scandalous, Arlene. Wait a minute. It's in the season 9 video. What's in season 9 video? Her getting hurt? Huh? Karen? Tell me what you mean by season 9. I'm missing it. It's in the season 9 video. Something maybe we thought was cut. Oh, okay. Yes, they did use the mayor's office. That's what Karen's saying. Okay. I believe the restaurant they had dinner in, you say, was the mayor's office. That's what Kathy's saying too. And so is Christine. Yes, and she doesn't like coffee in real life. I know.
I don't even know what to say to that.
What?
Someone who doesn't like coffee. Huh? It's like, oh, gee, we may have to rethink this. Next week, maybe Roxanne doing this solo because
Hey,
you
no,
must be a morning person.
I'm not a morning or night. I'm always on. Always. Like right now. And then when I'm not, I'm so mean. I'm like so like my family's like, get away from her. Like, but that doesn't happen often. It's like I don't know if I'm like exhausted. So anyway, enough about me. Rosemary says, well, we did it about taking care of little Jack. And Lee says, did we? That's so true because they're a mess. They can't find his real toy.
I love that. They stressed that entire time because they couldn't find the little dog. And when Elizabeth gets there and they're like, it's just one thing. We lost dog. And she's like, it'll turn up. Bye. And
Yeah.
you could have cared less.
I know. Nikki's saying, yes, they did use the mayor's office for the Union City Hotel and dining room scene. The set director talked about how they redid it for those scenes. Oh, okay. Sarah, I like Sarah, she's the set director. Nice. Did you get that from when they were doing the interviews maybe with the on the official site?
Oh, allergies.
All right. All righty. So I'm just going down. I don't like cough. Thank you, Nikki.
Oh,
Gloria, Kathy, I drink lots of coffee and I'm not a morning person either. Let me know if you need a new friend.
no kidding.
Well, wait a minute. So Nikki and I will branch off and then you and Gloria can branch off, okay?
Okay. And we can slap people till we've had our coffee in the morning and then we'll be fine.
Oh, wait. Lee comes back with the duck when nothing works. Wait, you know what does work is the typing sound. It soothes him. Remember? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I just watched the episode in season 5 where Frank leaves, Philip leaves, and Jack so sad. Wish he could have stayed. Oh dear Lord, they're already opening up that wound that you sutured.
It still hurts.
Oh, all right. So this was a lot. Oh yes. And I made these people. I don't know if, and I'm not trying to sell something. I just want to tell you this. I would do recipes that came from the show. So when she makes the cookies and she thanks Lucas for them, I would zero in what that cookie looked like and do the research. There weren't chocolate chip cookies yet at the time. So it's like an oatmeal raisin. And I have a recipe for that on my YouTube channel that you can find. And I put clips in of the show. And the same with this stuff. I forget, what did I make that was from one of the Christmas episodes? I don't know. I have a whole bunch of cooking videos. All right. And what's this? I'm with you, Roxanne. Just let me know. Okay. Christine saying, and that was just for 24 hours. Can't wait to see them as forever parents. I know.
That's going to be such a hoot.
All right. Nikki's with me, she said. Just, we all have to watch our steps. Don't Lee and Rosemary know about the throw the toy and then you're supposed to pick it up and give it back? I think it's when they were playing, like playing with him. Is that what she means? And then you pick. Okay. So when are you getting Aaron Crayco to come on here, Roxanne? Never hurts to wish. Oh, you people. Roxanne, I tried the cookies and they were great. Thank you, Joan. You people. When you ask these questions. I never asked Aaron to be on, did I? Or did I? Once, I think I did. I did once, and they didn't even respond. So, I don't know. They're busy. They're doing their thing. So that's all I can tell you. They're busy right now. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see how that goes. Next week is season 8. I'm scared.
That's a rocky one.
It is, and I've analyzed that sucker so many ways. But again, what we learn. We're going with fresh eyes. We're
Yeah,
overlooking that.
look at people other than the ones involved in the triangle and
Yes,
see what you think of that.
and
Or see what you may have missed the first time around because you were focused on the triangle.
right, and season 9. So normally what we've been doing is we have a guest, and then the next week we don't. We have a guest, and we go every other. We may or may not have a guest next week. I'm not sure. But it doesn't mean we don't have some things up our sleeve, some things that we'll do. And then we'll have season 9, and this series will have come to an end. But we are going to do a Christmas special, right, Kathy?
We are.
We are in December. What was the date that we chose?
The 9th.
The
Friday
9th, which is a Friday night. We're going to have a hearty Christmas party, and we're going to have all different kinds of guests coming on, and we are going to do a raffle, and we're raffling off stuff, and we are donating the money to a When Calls the Heart, the food bank that they support. So that'll all be coming out. We're going to play some trivia and maybe have some special guests helping us with that. So stay tuned. Yeah.
And even if you don't observe Christmas, it's not going to be, it's going to be pretty secular. So
Yeah.
please join us.
It's really that why we're doing it is because it's that month, but we're really doing it because we don't get that episode anymore. So we're going to do some fun things that go along with it. Yeah. Yes. 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 All right.
Just don't do it on a board meeting night. Hopefully Friday is not a board meeting night. Nobody has board meetings.
It's a Friday night, Deb. It's a Friday night, okay?
Oh, Lillian, just keep your purse with you and have your phone out and, put it on low volume.
What's Lillian doing?
She's got a Christmas party that night.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lillian, but that's okay. You can watch later too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody had something. Oh, I know what I wanted to. Christine, Gloria says, "Thank you for keeping When Calls the Heart alive during the downtime. This really helps." I know we have some other things up our sleeves. Don't you wait? When January rolls around, we have a whole other series that of When Calls the Heart stuff, but we're going to look at it differently and do something different with that. Christine, filming last block of season 10 right now. You are correct. There is an actor, just in case. The actor, I won't say he or she is here, that has been is going to I'm going to have a chat with the actor for something else, and we have been in touch. And yes, I do know you are correct who is filming and what's going on at the time. So tell Peter to talk to them and get Aaron and Chris on your show. Nikki, I will never, ever tell anybody to do anything like that. People come on if they want to come on. That's just how it goes. I would never want to force or coerce or pull strings for someone to come on, right? But thank you.
Except if it was,
No, stop it. And listen, I want you all to know that I love Kathy, and I have asked Frank multiple times to come on, and nobody responds. So I don't know if his management is still his management. They don't respond at all.
Wow.
I know.
What a disservice they're doing to him.
I know. What did I miss? Fort Clay. You missed the biggest thing in season 7, Fort Clay. And Fort Clay isn't mentioned in season 7. Fort Clay is mentioned in season 8.
8, yeah. That's when he confessed.
I have a story about that, Deb. How did I hear this? I don't know if it came out in an interview that I did. No, it could not have come out in an interview that I did with Kevin, because the interview I did with Kevin was for a movie. In an interview, Kevin explained, was it Kevin? Yes, that the writers, this is why I think it was a little off. The writers didn't know anything about Fort Clay. It was the idea of Kevin and Aaron to put that in. They said, let's make a backstory. Let's make it that Nathan came here because he heard about the widow and the baby, and he felt guilty, and that's why he wanted to come, and then he fell in love right away. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So sometimes people are like, how did he know about the baby? Jack didn't know he had a baby. Jack didn't know she was pregnant. She didn't find out till after he was dead. But anyway, that's when they wrote that one in. I really had the feeling that Nathan had a secret from season 7. Rose, I think we all did, because he was so quiet and cut off and didn't say much. I agree. And I think that's why it was easy to add that idea in, because obviously Kevin felt that about his own character too, right? Yeah.
Yep.
You need to send a picture of Kathy holding Frank's picture to his management with hearts all over it. Oh my God. Yes. Oh, and you know what, Kathy, hold on. You and I think you're going to know what I mean. We might have a really special guest join us next week, but don't go crazy. It's a guest that you don't like. Many of you don't like. I was going to do it today and I got sidetracked. Oh God. Oh gosh. All right, that was funny. All right, good night, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. See you next week.
Yes, good night. Oh goodness.